When you were abruptly blindsided and discarded by your avoidant partner, now your avoidant ex, you may have noticed that this person had a stone cold look in their eyes. They were completely shut down, eyes glazed over like they were looking through you. The person that you knew wasn't there. Nobody was home. There was no emotion, and they were very detached, stone cold, showing no empathy to your pain whatsoever, giving you little to no explanation as to why a seemingly wonderful relationship had to end. You're given no answers, vague excuses, and certainly no empathy. It's a very painful, traumatizing experience to be on the receiving end of. What you experienced is something that is called deactivation, especially if you're dealing with a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant that leans heavily dismissive. This is a person that has learned to completely shut down when they've been triggered. When their fears have been triggered, they take their feelings for their partner, they suppress them, they bury them. They don't allow themselves to access their feelings for their partner. This is how they've learned to keep themselves safe. With those suppressed emotions also goes empathy. Empathy is out the window. One of the core components of emotional availability is the ability and willingness to empathize with your partner, to feel their emotions along with them, to care about their feelings, wants, and needs, even in a disagreement, and even when ending a relationship. Deactivation is what an avoidant does to protect themselves, and they do so when their fears have been triggered. Avoidants are people with a very specific set of fears. The fear of abandonment is at the core of all of it, and it largely lies in the subconscious of this person. They're often unaware that this fear even exists, but it's a very driving fear. They also fear rejection and engulfment. Engulfment is the fear that they'll lose their independence to a person that's ultimately going to abandon and reject them. And it all stems from childhood emotional neglect. This is a person that was not given the love and the nurturing from their parents or caretakers in the way that they needed. They often grew up in households where you don't talk about feelings. And when they had emotions, especially any kind of negative emotion, it was dismissed, rejected. The message was sent, your emotions are an inconvenience. We don't want to hear them. Go stuff your emotions and be sad somewhere else. So as a child, what they learn to do is to suppress things, to avoid it, because they were never shown how to process emotions, how to talk through fears or stresses. They learn to stuff it and put on a happy face. Due to the emotional neglect that they experience, they often grow up to feel unlovable, like there's something wrong with them, that they are in fact defective, which is why they put up these walls around their heart. If their partner's on the other side of the wall, well, that partner won't be able to figure out that they are defective. It's not that they are defective, but it's what they believe that they are. And emotional distance is how they keep themselves safe. They keep themselves from getting exposed. Vulnerability feels unsafe. As a child, they learned if you rely on anybody for your emotional needs, this person's going to reject you, disappoint you, potentially even abandon you. So they feel very unsafe with emotional intimacy. They feel unsafe with communication, especially about anything like a disagreement or expectations. As a child, if they tried to communicate their feelings and needs, it was rejected, met with disapproval. So they learn to bottle it up, and communicating about these things in a relationship gives them a lot of anxiety, especially when there's a disagreement at hand. Disagreements feel like fundamental incompatibility. Even a beautiful relationship that has been going wonderfully can abruptly end when there's even the slightest disagreement, and that can trigger an avoidant into a rapid deactivation and discard. Also, having any kind of expectations, that is very triggering to them as well. Typically in childhood, they had a parent or parents that were very controlling and smothering, but not in a nurturing way. These controlling parents often had very high expectations and only gave the avoidant any kind of praise when they achieved perfect results. So what they learned is that they can't meet expectations, even if it's just the bare minimum. They'll ultimately disappoint the person, and it gives them the feeling like they can't give you what you need, which you may have heard when they did the discard. That's because they truly believe it. They believe that you are too good for them, that you're going to figure them out, that they're going to disappoint you, so they might as well shut down and push you away now. Sometimes they're aware of this feeling of not being good enough, sometimes they are unaware. But because they've learned to avoid emotions, avoid dealing with problems, avoid conflict, avoid communication, and avoiding self-reflection, they've learned to just stuff it, bury it, detach, and find ways to distract themselves so they don't have to face any negative emotions and they don't have to face any kind of pain, including the pain of acknowledging and owning the way that they hurt their partner who is now their ex. So when they're deactivated, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them, their insecurities, their attachment wounds, as well as their character. This is how they've learned to keep themselves safe in a maladaptive way. But it can be very difficult to be on the receiving end of because there's no empathy. This is a person that you thought loved you. You loved them. You put in all this effort. You were committed to them. And they just shut you down and threw you away as if you didn't even matter. But it's not that you didn't matter. It's because this person felt unsafe. They felt triggered. And this is how they learned to defend themselves. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it less painful. But when they are deactivated, they truly have detached from their emotions. And because of a lack of self-reflection, they really truly believe that their emotions and their feelings for you are gone and they've just fallen out of love. And to avoid self-reflection, they'll even tell themselves things like, well, it must be because I met the wrong person. When I meet the right person, I won't feel this way. But due to a lack of self-awareness, not understanding that every time they get into a relationship with somebody who is emotionally available, their fears will be triggered. It's a lack of self-awareness that perpetuates their own loneliness that goes on and on and on and on. But don't take it personally, as hard as it is to not take it personally, because it's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of your worth. You deserve better than that. You wouldn't do it to them. So hold your head high and recognize it's a reflection of them. Don't beat yourself up. And as hard as it is, do not personalize their traumas and their insecurities.